The cameras flashed. The crowd completely froze. I mean, the world knew him as this rugged paleontologist who stared down a T-Rex on the big screen.
Right, the iconic Dr. Alan Grant.
Exactly. But away from the flashing bulbs and the Hollywood premieres, this quiet gentleman was actually guarding a deeply personal secret.
A 25-year search for the son he gave up.
Yeah, and just like that, the world has a completely new obsession with the man behind the fame.
It is such an incredible story.
Welcome to StarScope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the sources and the stories behind the fame.
So just to set the stage for you all listening, today's Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. And yesterday, the world lost a true cinematic legend.
Yeah. Sam Neill passed away at the age of 78.
It's still so surreal to say.
Yeah.
So we are dedicating today's deep dive into a stack of recent articles, interviews, his memoir, and, the global tributes that are just pouring in.
But our mission here isn't just to recite his IMDb page, right? We want to look deeper.
Definitely not. We're going to explore the incredibly complex, fiercely protected family life he built. Because to really understand the actor, you have to understand the father.
And that journey starts with the headline story of his long-lost son.
It really does. And to grasp the gravity of this, we kind of need to strip away all the Hollywood fame and go way back to the beginning.
Right, like we have to rewind to around 1969.
Yeah, 1969. Long before the stratosphere-level fame of Jurassic Park, Sam Neill was just a young man in his early 20s.
He was a struggling, totally unknown actor, and suddenly he found himself facing fatherhood.
Which, when you look at the societal context of the late 1960s, was a completely different landscape than what we have today.
Oh, absolutely, night and day.
He actually described himself as being, quote, quite small at the time, meaning he just felt entirely inadequate.
He simply didn't believe he was capable of being a parent.
Right. And so he made the agonizing decision to place his firstborn son, Andrew, up for adoption.
We really have to pause on the psychology of that moment, though. Because in 1969, out-of-wedlock births carried this immense social stigma.
It was huge.
And the resources for a young, struggling artist to just raise a child on his own were practically non-existent.
Plus, closed adoptions were the norm back then, right?
Exactly. When you placed a child for adoption back in those days, it was treated as this permanent, sealed vault. You were basically expected to walk away, never look back, and just pretend it didn't happen.
It's so heartbreaking to think about. It was a choice born out of a very specific, unforgiving era.
It really was.
Now, I want you to hold that thought and fast forward a massive 25 years. A quarter of a century passes. It is now 1994.
Just think about where Sam Neill is in 1994.
I mean, Jurassic Park shattered every box office record on the planet the year prior. He is arguably one of the most recognizable faces on Earth at this point.
Right. You can't walk down a street anywhere without being mobbed.
And right at the peak of this dizzying, white-hot global fame, both he and his son, Andrew, independently go looking for each other.
It's just an astonishing collision of circumstances. The juxtaposition is wild.
What do you mean?
Well, you have his ultimate public visibility, literally being recognized on every street corner, contrasted with this intensely private, vulnerable, needle-in-a-haystack search for his son.
Oh, for sure. But wait, I kind of want to push back on how the media tends to frame this stuff.
Yeah.
Because they always paint these reunions in this glowing, super romantic light.
Oh, the classic Hollywood ending.
Exactly. But let's be real. Wasn't this incredibly risky? 25 years is a literal lifetime. For an actor whose entire career is built on high-stakes, emotional cinematic climaxes, the real-life stakes here were terrifying.
They were massive.
What if Andrew harbored deep resentment? Or what if the reunion was just a complete disaster? The odds of this going wrong were honestly huge.
You are exactly right to point that out. And honestly, it's the very reason why the reality of their reunion is so fascinating to me.
How so?
Because it completely defied every Hollywood trope imaginable. If you read his 2014 interview with The Times, Neill explicitly dismantled that cinematic expectation.
What did he say?
He stated that the reunion wasn't sentimental and grisly. Those were his exact words. He said there was no weeping, no dramatic sobbing in anyone's arms.
Which feels almost jarring, when you expect the swelling violins and the tearful embrace in the rain.
It is very anti-Hollywood, but I think it is deeply human. He described their meeting as being much more grown up.
I love that. Much more grown up.
Right. It was two adult men sitting down, navigating a highly complex reality, without the need for theatrical performance.
And there's a really profound piece of wisdom he shared in that same interview.
Oh, about his younger self.
Yeah. When asked what advice he would give his 20-year-old self, the terrified young man who gave his son away, he said, "You're more capable than you think."
Wow, you're more capable than you think.
Just think about how heavily that lands. How many of you listening right now suffer from imposter syndrome?
Probably most of us, honestly.
Right. How often do you feel like you aren't ready for the job, or for a relationship, or just the next stage of your life?
It's such a universal feeling.
Sam Neill carried that feeling of inadequacy for 25 years, only to finally realize he had the capacity for love and connection all along. It's a really beautiful realization.
It is, and that realization actually became the foundation for everything that followed in his life.
Because Andrew was just the first piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. He was the first piece of what would become a very unconventional, sprawling family puzzle.
Absolutely. And real quick, if you're loving these Hollywood twists and the real human psychology behind them, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
Yeah, wait until we get to the royal connection.
Including how his next son ended up rubbing shoulders with royalty on the red carpet.
So let's look at how this family actually evolved. From a young man who felt totally incapable of fatherhood, Neill eventually transitions into a role he self-deprecatingly called the absent father.
Which is quite the leap.
It is. And then he ultimately becomes the patriarch of a highly complex blended family.
The sources outline a pretty fascinating timeline for this. During the filming of Omen III, he meets his co-star, Lisa Harrow.
Right. And they enter into this very intermittent 10-year relationship.
Yeah. And in 1983, they welcome a son, Tim.
Okay, so that's his second biological child.
Correct. Later down the line, on the set of Dead Calm in 1987, he meets the Japanese makeup artist, Noriko Watanabe. They eventually marry in 1989.
And they have a daughter, Elena, born in 1991, right?
Yes, and Neill also adopts Noriko's daughter from a previous relationship, Maiko.
So you have biological children, an adopted daughter, and a long-lost son who eventually comes back into the fold. It is a true patchwork family.
It really is.
But what is critical here is how Neill viewed his own role in this ecosystem.
Well, I have to say, his self-deprecation was legendary. The contrast between the surreal, manufactured reality of his fame and his brutal honesty about his parenting is just wild.
Oh, give us the 1993 example.
Okay, take 1993, for example, the London premiere of Jurassic Park. His son Tim is just 10 years old at the time.
Just a little kid.
Exactly. Picture this. A 10-year-old kid arriving in a massive limousine with Steven Spielberg, stepping out into a blinding sea of press flashbulbs, and then casually shaking hands with Princess Diana.
It is peak Hollywood madness. Absolute sensory overload for a child.
Right. And yet, how does Neill describe his own parenting during these peak career years?
He definitely didn't sugarcoat it.
Not at all. In a 2020 interview with ABC News, he called his family life somewhat haphazard.
He fully admitted that his constant traveling, like being on location for months at a time, made him an absent father in many ways.
He even joked that he should write a parenting book and title it Sam Neill's Guide to Benign Neglect.
Benign neglect, it's a funny line.
It is, but let's actually dig into the mechanics of that, because in today's culture of hyper-parenting, where, you're expected to micromanage your child's schedule from sunrise to sunset.
Oh yeah, the helicopter parenting era.
Exactly. Admitting to benign neglect sounds almost scandalous today, but how does that actually work in practice?
It's a brilliant question, because benign neglect isn't about not caring. It's about not hovering. It's essentially an ecosystem approach to parenting.
Like how?
Think of it like cultivating his famous New Zealand vineyards. You plant the vines, you provide the soil and the structure, but you don't stand over the grapes yelling at them to grow.
That is a great analogy.
You just give them space. Neill's approach, partially out of the necessity of his crazy travel schedule, meant his kids had to develop autonomy. They weren't suffocated by his fame.
But I'm going to challenge the romanticization of that a bit.
Fair enough.
Because it's easy to look back and call it a successful ecosystem now. But at the time, that absence clearly caused him immense guilt. You can't just be away on a film set in another hemisphere and expect the bond to maintain itself without effort.
You're entirely right, and the guilt was a heavy burden for him. However, the emotional counter-narrative from his kids proves that the bond did survive.
And why do you think it survived?
Precisely because of what he did when he was present. The proof is actually in a public statement made by his son, Tim.
What did Tim say?
When discussing his father's absence, Tim publicly defended him. He said, and I quote, "There are worse things a dad can do than be off working. He is a very good dad. He's granddad. Grad. as we call him.
Grad. I love that so much.
It's so endearing.
It strips away the celebrity aura entirely. It shows that presence isn't strictly about physical, daily proximity. It's about the emotional safety and the quality of the bond you build when you're in the room.
Exactly. He didn't hide behind a glossy PR narrative pretending he never missed a school play.
Right. He owned his absence, but his children clearly felt a fierce, underlying current of love.
He gave them the grace of honesty. And as we're about to see, that foundation of fierce love became incredibly vital in his final years.
Because the man who once feared he couldn't raise a single child eventually became the sanctuary for an entire generation.
He really did.
But that sanctuary was about to face a completely unexpected, devastating storm.
A storm no one saw coming.
Later in this deep dive, we're going to break down the shocking twist in his final months that absolutely nobody anticipated. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss how this incredible story concludes.
So moving into the later chapters of his life, we see Sam Neill really settling into this patriarch role.
He seemed so happy.
He was. The sources highlight how deeply he reveled in being a grandfather. He had up to 8 grandchildren.
8 grandkids. That's
Lar.
amazing. Including Caleb, Felix, who Neil proudly boasted on Instagram is a working DJ, which is just fantastic, and little Nalo.
He was such a proud grandfather.
He was. In fact, Neil was notoriously strict about keeping his private family life off the internet. But in 2021, the joy was just too much.
He couldn't help himself.
Right. He completely broke his own rule to welcome newborn Nalo to the world.
That Instagram post is such a window into his soul at that time. He wrote, "The love just eats, sleeps, and thinks about things. Parents blissed out. Me particularly."
That is just so sweet.
There is an absolute profound contentment in those words. He had found his ultimate peace at his vineyard in New Zealand.
Oh, surrounded by the animals he named after celebrities.
Yes. And of course, the sprawling family he had stitched together over decades.
But here's where the story takes a sharp, harrowing turn. It is March 2022. He is on the massive global press tour for Jurassic World Dominion.
So he's doing the whole grueling PR circuit.
Yeah, he's smiling for the cameras, doing the endless junket interviews. But behind the scenes, something is seriously wrong.
He started noticing swollen glands,
He
right?
did. He finally goes to a doctor and receives a devastating, terrifying diagnosis.
Yeah.
Stage 3 blood cancer, specifically angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma.
Which is an incredibly aggressive diagnosis.
Can you explain the medical side of that?
Yeah.
Because it sounds incredibly complex.
Yeah, to understand what he was facing, let's break down exactly what that medical term means. So, in your immune system, you have these white blood cells called T cells. Think of them as the elite soldiers of your immune system, designed to hunt down and destroy infections.
Got it. The frontline defense.
Exactly. But in this specific type of lymphoma, those elite soldiers mutate. They basically go rogue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they start multiplying out of control and attacking the very system they are supposed to protect. They clog up the lymph nodes, which is what caused those swollen glands he noticed.
So his own defense mechanism became the weapon against him. That is absolutely terrifying.
It really is. And treating it isn't just a matter of taking a pill. He had to undergo grueling chemotherapy.
Chemo is brutal on the body.
Chemo for this kind of cancer essentially involves carpet bombing the immune system, just wiping out the rogue cells and the healthy cells alike, and praying the body can rebuild itself from scratch.
But true to form, Sam Neill didn't retreat into silence. He fought it with this wry, stubborn resilience that is just awe-inspiring.
He was so tough.
He was. And miraculously, he beats it. The chemo actually works. He is officially declared cancer-free and goes into remission.
His public attitude, after beating it, was nothing short of legendary. He was entirely unsentimental about his own mortality.
What did he say to the press?
He told the media that dying was crap, that the idea of retirement was asking to die, and he dropped that incredibly funny line about golf.
Oh, right. That golf is just for people with nothing better to do.
Exactly. He was so full of fire, he was ready to keep acting, keep making wine, keep being grad.
Which honestly brings us to the most difficult part of today's deep dive. Because I have to call out a really harsh reality here.
It's tough to talk about.
We are conditioned, especially by Hollywood, to expect a neat narrative arc. You know, the hero fights the monster, in this case, stage 3 cancer, the hero slays the monster, and the hero gets to live happily ever after.
We really crave that resolution. We want the neat bow at the end.
But the universe does not care about narrative arcs.
Hmm.
The tragic irony of this timeline is just staggering.
It really is.
He went through the absolute nightmare of chemotherapy. He won the biggest medical battle of his life. He was cancer-free.
He did everything right.
And yet, his passing on July 13th, 2026, was ruled sudden and unexpected. It wasn't a long, drawn-out decline from the lymphoma. It was a sudden, absolute shock.
A total blindside.
It is a brutal reminder of the fragility of life, even for a Hollywood giant who just seemingly cheated death.
It was a profound shock to the system. But, when a sudden loss like this occurs, the immediate aftermath tells you so much.
Like how people respond in the moment.
Yeah, the way the world reacts in those first 24 hours, it tells you exactly who that person truly was. And the global outpouring of tributes we are looking at today isn't just focused on his acting prowess.
What are they focusing on?
It's an overwhelming testament to his humanity. The sources are just overflowing with these beautiful memories.
Like Cillian Murphy, right?
Yes. Cillian Murphy, who worked alongside him on Peaky Blinders, immediately highlighted his immense kindness and sharp humor.
And Nicole Kidman posted a really touching tribute as well.
She did. Neil actually mentored her on the set of Dead Calm back when she was just 18 years old. She shared how he took her under his wing and remained a fiercely loyal friend for life.
Laura Dern simply called him a noble gentleman.
Aw.
Which just feels so fitting.
It's perfect. But the tribute that I think captures the absolute essence of this story came from Steven Spielberg.
What did Spielberg say?
Well, Spielberg pointed out the ultimate cinematic irony of Sam Neill's life. Think about Dr. Alan Grant in Jurassic Park.
Okay, yeah.
Here is a character who notoriously loathed children. He found them messy, irritating, and complicated.
Oh, it's so true. You immediately picture Dr. Grant awkwardly tying the two seatbelts together in the helicopter because he has literally no idea how to interact with the kids.
Right.
He literally threatens a child with a velociraptor claw at the beginning of the movie.
Exactly. Neil played that reluctance so convincingly that an entire generation associated him with that gruff, child-avoidant persona.
It's a great point.
But Spielberg noted that in reality, the man playing that character was the exact opposite. Sam Neill was the ultimate, fiercely loving family man.
The contrast is just beautiful. The character who couldn't stand kids versus the man who secretly broke his own social media rules to write poetry about his newborn grandchild.
It is the perfect summary of his life.
It speaks to his immense talent as a performer, but more importantly, to the vast size of his heart.
Definitely.
And when the end came, suddenly and unexpectedly, it did not happen on a sterile movie set. It didn't happen surrounded by publicists or flashing cameras at a premiere.
No, it didn't.
It happened at St. Vincent's Private Hospital in Sydney, and he was surrounded by the sprawling, deeply loyal patchwork family he had spent decades bringing together.
He passed away exactly how he lived, surrounded by the people he chose, the people who chose him, and the family he built on his own deeply unconventional terms.
So as we look at this massive stack of sources spanning from 1969 to yesterday, what does this all mean for you listening right now?
It's a lot to process.
It is. What is the core truth we take away from diving deep into Sam Neill's life?
I think the most powerful takeaway is about how we measure time and how we measure the success of our relationships.
Leave us with a final thought on that.
Consider his 25-year journey to reunite with Andrew. That story fundamentally challenges our rigid societal timelines.
Because we expect everything to happen instantly now.
Right. Right now, so many of you listening probably feel this immense, crushing pressure. We are told we need to have our careers, our relationships, and our parenting entirely figured out by our 20s or 30s.
It's exhausting.
And if we stumble, if we feel incapable like Sam Neill did at 20, we assume we have failed forever.
We think the door is permanently closed.
But this story proves that a lost bond isn't necessarily a broken one. Sometimes a relationship just needs decades to breathe before it can become something beautiful and grown up. You don't have to have all the answers when you are young and terrified. Sometimes the most meaningful connections in your life take a quarter of a century to finally find their footing. You are, as he said, more capable than you think.
A lost bond isn't a broken one. That is an incredibly powerful thought to carry with you.
It really is.
The cameras flashed. The world knew the rugged paleontologist who survived the dinosaurs. But it was the quiet gentleman who built an unconventional, enduring legacy of love that truly lasted. You've been listening to StarScope Report, where your hosts uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.